Hello and good day everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, then I'd like to say welcome to Chidinma's Insight Station. Please, I'd also like you to click on the subscription button and subscribe, like this video and other videos, leave a comment, you can leave comments, and please turn on your notification bell. And if this is not your first time, I'd like to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for returning. So today I'll be speaking on a very important concept that a lot of people have heard of, but I doubt if we have or if we know how deep it really impacts the economy, our individual lives and finances eventually in the long run. This concept is an economic concept and it is called GDP, Gross Domestic Product. I just hear someone say, waiting concern me, concern GDP, especially Nigeria's GDP. I laugh in wonders because make wonders not gonna reach your turn gonna end. Alright, let me see. So have you ever asked yourself these questions? Why am I working harder but saving less? Why is demand unstable? Why is expansion riskier than before? Why is the economy growing only on papers and it is yet to translate to an improved standard of living in Nigeria? If I tell you that understanding the GDP trends of the nation would be of some sort of relief and would help you strategize more, would you believe me? Please do. In simple terms, GDP is how much money a country makes from doing business within its borders. It is the total value of everything a country produces and sells in a given period of time, usually a year. Collectively from every unit or sector in the country. Okay, the thing is, GDP is used to check how healthy a nation's economy is. It is widely used as a primary or as the primary indicator of economic activity and overall economic health. So a rising GDP generally signals that the economy is expanding and producing more goods and services, which can be associated with improvements in the in employment and incomes. This is what it should be, but this is not what it always is. How do they used to say it? Okay, moving on. Okay, currently the country's GDP growth rate as at the end of Q3 2025 is at 3.98%, which is higher than that of 2024 Q3, which was at 3.86%, yes, but lower than that of Q2 2024, which was at 4.23%. Now, this means that on quarter-to-quarter basis in 2025, Q2, that's between April to June, Q2 performed better than Q3, that's July to September. And this means that more goods and services were produced and sold in Q2 than in Q3. But if you compare them on year-to-year basis, then the growth rate was a sharp one. Yeah. So I'll explain more as we move on. We'll be focusing on 2025 Q3 activities because Q4 is not yet officially over. So according to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria's economy grew by 3.98% in the third quarter of 2025, representing a sharp increase from the 3.86% growth. Percentage growth recorded in the third quarter of 2024, and World Bank confirmed that strong performances in services and non-oil industries and improvements in oil production and agricultural productive activities are responsible for this growth. This also helped to strengthen our external reserve, our external position, increased non-oil exports and lowered oil imports, and our foreign reserve now exceeds $42 billion, and the current account surplus is rising to 6.1% of GDP. Sounds great, right? Yes, and I think I just heard someone say, is she still talking about Nigeria, or is there a mix-up somewhere, because the citizens are still living in poverty and the standard of living is yet to improve? Well, yes, I am talking about Nigeria, the one with the city Abuja as its capital city. Now, the question is not, we should ask a question. That's what I'm just trying to say, because it's not rich to ask. But then this is what I would like to say. First, a growth in GDP do not automatically translate to equitable distribution of income or improved well-being or standard of living for the people, because this growth has to be sustainable for a period of quality time, both on the year-to-year basis and quarter-to-quarter basis. Only then will the growth give birth to development, which then implies an equitable distribution of income and improved well-being or standard of living for the people or of the people. So, although Nigeria's GDP keeps improving on year-to-year basis, it is still struggling to maintain a relative percentage growth on its quarter-to-quarter basis, which is a problem. Also, there are other factors responsible too, but I will be discussing them in my next video. So now let's see how some sectors performed. This is not all, but a selected few top performing sectors. You can see from this table that both agriculture and non-oil sector performed better in Q3 2025, that's the quarter we are reviewing, than they did in Q2 2025 and then in Q3 2024. But industry performed better in Q2 2025, than it did in Q3 2025 and then in Q3 2024. Services did better in Q3 2024 than it did in Q3 2025 and then in Q2 2025. Okay, oil sector did better in Q2 2025 than it did in Q3 2025 and then in Q3 2024. Like, already this is giving me a lot of insight, and you understand why you need to check these trends eventually, where as we progress. So moving on, even the growth now with this, you can see that even the growth on year-to-year basis isn't 100%. Like, it's not consistent 100%. And then GDP was 103.5 million naira. That's, we're checking it on nominal terms, so in Q3 2025, and it is also higher than that of Q3 2024, because for Q3 2024 it was at 96.1 million naira. So if you're looking at it like this, yeah, there's a sharp growth. Also, another thing to point or to notice from this chart is that, or from this table, is that oil sector grew on year-to-year basis, but not on quarter-to-quarter basis. This is one of the problems, like one of the things I was trying to explain earlier. It didn't grow on quarter-to-quarter basis because for Q2 2025 it was at 20.46%, and for Q3 2025 it was at 5.84%. This was a significant decrease, if you ask me, of about 14.62%. Now, remember that GDP is used to check how healthy a country's economy is. So you see, investors do not just back out. Currencies do just devaluate. Imports do not just exceed exports. You do not just lose your purchasing power or use up your savings or investment overnight. There are factors, actors, and forces that the economy constantly interacts with, which includes the invisible hands of demand and supply. Yes. Now, the thing is, most times, the only parameter you use to forecast, detect, or predict these changes and possible net changes is price. The prices of things goes high, you're like, things don't bad though. But when they go low, you're like, things don't get better. That's not bad. The problem is you only get to find out because it is already happening, not before it happens. And then you will try to start adjusting while in crisis, which makes control measures difficult to become even effective, if not impossible. At that point, you only get to pray that you at least break even or have enough money to transport yourself to office until month end. So you need to pay attention to what the economy interacts with on a steady, and follow up on on some economic trends such as GDP. I'll be talking about others as time goes on. So here's why you need to follow up with GDP trends. So GDP tells you how much the economy produced. It helps you to see how individual sectors are performing. Also, it helps you with strategic planning to maximize output and minimize risks. Yes, it does. It's not exactly used for day-to-day operations. It is used for strategic planning. This is because data on GDP is prepared on quarterly basis, not on daily basis. So it's best fitted for strategic planning. Also, prices tells you what is happening now, but GDP tells you where the economy is heading, like where it is going next. You need GDP trends to help you plan your life, your finances, your business strategically instead of emotionally in 2026. Yes. So regardless of the fall in GDP growth rate on the quarter-to-quarter basis, the economy is still growing. Like it grew higher than the first prediction made by IMF and World Bank in 2024, especially at the end of Q2 2025. Now let's see how these sectors contributed to the total real GDP as at the end of Q3 2025. So from this table again, you can see that for Q3 2025, the quarter we are reviewing, oil sector produced or grew by 3.44% and non-oil sector by 96.56%. And it is obvious that the non-oil sector outperformed the oil sector. And then if you check Q2 2025 and Q3 2024, you also find out that non-oil sectors always outperform the oil sector. So this simply means that Nigeria's economy is still promising and economic development is still very possible as long as the right measures are put in place and you can look for, yes, you can look for a way to stay ahead of the predictable future occurrences, then you'll be fine. So now I'll tell you how to take advantage of GDP trends. Since there's a growth in Nigeria's GDP and data on GDP is prepared on a quarterly basis and not on a daily basis, it is best to use for strategic planning, like I have been saying, and you can take advantage of it in these following ways. You could use it to predict where the economy is heading to and know the right time to make those big decisions around taking out loan, long-term loan, of course, expanding a business, relocating, making large investment. Just look at the sectors, look at how they are performing, and you'll be able to make the right predictions. Also, it helps you judge situations like if it's going to be temporal or structural. Understand that slow or sluggish GDP growth may imply that the hardship will likely persist, and when the GDP growth rate is accelerating, it may imply that the condition may ease sooner than later. If GDP growth is weak, plan for long-term adjustment. Just plan for long-term adjustment and not short-term endurance. Cut your fixed costs early, like on rent, subscription, lifestyle. No, monitor the inflation. Avoid assuming. Do not assume that things would soon normalize. Yes, we hope, like yes, we can. We pray towards that, but just plan without assuming. You get. Also, it helps you know which sector is growing and which is shrinking. And it will help you take wise business risks and safer job opportunities. Yes, it also helps you reskill towards expanding sectors and diversify income towards GDP aligned activities. In my next video, I will talk about GDP aligned activities. Also, GDP grants your expectations, like with facts, with data, with proof, because it is really dangerous to be optimistic blindly. So, conclusively, you will likely survive a shock by responding to price or price changes, but you will strive if you plan with GDP. Trust me, because you understand what the economy is engaging with, like what's going on in the economy. So you will strive if you plan with GDP because it helps you avoid bad timing, which is more dangerous than bad ideas. GDP is used for positioning. You use GDP to position your business. So use it to decide how long, not just your business, even your finances, your investments, anything that has to do with money. So use it to decide how long or how deep your adjustment would be, especially when you are interacting with activities that are directly impacted by an increase or decrease in economic growth, like GDP. Yeah. So in my next video, I'll be explaining why the economy is growing on paper or the GDP growth rate is increasing, but does not really translate to an improved standard of living or well-being. Also, I will show you a practical demo, like steps on how to make the GDP trend work for you in 2026. Thank you so much for listening to this point. I'm so grateful. Thank you. So please, if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. If you're yet to like this video, please like this video. You can leave a comment. Yes, let me hear what you have to say. What do you think is responsible for this improper translation? Like the economy is going on paper, but it's not translating into an improved standard of living. What do you think is responsible? Let me just hear what you have to say in the comment section. Also, you can share these and turn on your notification bell, please. Thank you. Bye for now until I see you in my next video.